Hey, welcome back to Storytelling on the Plains, where we sit and talk before we hit record about how it was so much easier in the olden days to rob a bank. I was just thinking that anyway. I could probably disguise myself enough, but I have ethics. I just can't.
I don't know if it was much easier back in the day. I mean, if you think about it, you think it was, but then you look at like the Dillinger gang and Bonnie and Clyde, and back then, like, the feds were just becoming, well, at least with Dillinger, I believe that's what started the FBI. So, yeah, I would,
yeah, maybe not.
Before then, they killed with impunity. They didn't necessarily take you to court, they just took you down, and I don't know what I'd be more afraid of, going to jail or just getting shot.
Yeah, and if I went into a bank then, the teller's probably going to have a gun.
There's a good chance.
Yeah.
I mean, there was. Not necessarily, though. Like I said, there was a bank in Sioux Falls where, it's not a bank anymore, it's a law office, but there's a plaque out there that this is one of the famous banks that Dillinger held up.
Okay.
And, yeah, they didn't have guns. At least they didn't use them on them to any great effect.
It's my 2026 brain, where if you go hold up a bank today, the employees are taught, just give them what they ask for. Mm-hmm. Your life isn't worth it. We have insurance. Just give them what you ask for. And I'm putting that mentality back. So thank you for writing me, Connor.
Well, I mean, it was a little bit before the FDIC, so there was nothing backing up this money except bullets.
Yeah. So, well.
And the banks themselves, which are individual, they weren't owned by the government. So it was the banker's responsibility to get that money back.
Yep. And I just have morals and ethics, so I couldn't really do it. I just kind of dream of, how can I get lots of money? Like when that movie Jumper came out 20-some years ago, I don't know if you ever saw it, but there were some humans with mutations, and they could think of a place, and boom, they were there. So like, top of the pyramids, boom, you're right there standing on top of the pyramids. And so some of them, of course, became criminals because they think of the inside of a bank vault, boom, they're there, take all the money, boom, go away, and they get away with the crime. And I remember thinking that was cool, but then as the movie went on, there are people that are also jumpers that are a type of law enforcement that are there to catch you.
No,
that wouldn't work either. And I don't know if I would have the guts to do it anyway, because I'm not stealing from Elon Musk. I'm stealing from regular folk like me. So
yeah, don't rob a bank, just rob Elon Musk.
Yeah.
I mean, good luck doing that too.
Yeah.
I'd also be very afraid. He has a lot of scary missiles, guns, and God knows what else.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you want to, get a while there.
So I guess the lesson here, folks, is just don't rob people. But it's nice to think of. It's like when you hear the lottery's at $1 billion. Oh, wouldn't it be nice to win that?
Yeah, but just go rob the person that won the lottery.
Yeah, and on top of that, I would be sitting here thinking of all the things I could do with that money, and then I never go buy the ticket, so I'm not going to win anyway. So anyway, so we're going to travel way back in time today to learn about one of the most important archaeological discoveries in North America, which is also a treasure trove and a mystery sitting in Northwest Nebraska. So we're recording this a couple of weeks ahead of time, but Connor and I went last week. Yeah, it's almost a week ago now. And we went up to this place, and it was pretty cool. Connor's been there before. I had never been in. I had been outside and around the building, but never in the building. So today we're going to learn about the Hudson Meng Education and Research Center, which is a massive treasure trove of ancient bison bones. It's only open on Fridays between Memorial and Labor Day. And honestly, I've wanted to get up there for about 20 years now. Probably longer than that. Probably much longer than that. We've been living here 20 years, and the entire time I've been here, I've wanted to get up there and just never had a chance to. And I've known about it since I went to college 88, 89, I think I first learned about it. But just, I didn't have a car then, and Lincoln is a long way from Hudson Meng. So I had just thought that I would never make it up there, and then I just happened to have a Friday free, and you had the same Friday free, so we took off and went up there. And before we get started, I want to give a shout out to Zane, who was our tour guide up there. He did a really good job. I had fun up there.
For not being a curator of the museum or anything like that. He was the funding of the, as most people who are probably listening already know this, the funding to the parks and everything have been cut by local people, and as well as federal people, as well as our president. And whatever you might think about that, it leaves the trash pickup people, the people that keep the trails clear, the people that do the maintenance of the park itself, it leaves them to be the curators as well. And they have to do everything. And that's not at all fair, in my opinion.
No.
But they do it gratefully, and they have a lot of passion. And you could tell that from Zane.
Yes, yeah.
He liked doing it.
Yeah.
This wasn't a burden to him. This was something he actually enjoyed. So that was very nice to see, and it is nice to see that they're open at all. I mean, when I was a kid, they were open every day, almost anyway, except maybe Sunday. But yeah,
they used to be open every day, year round. They had some days they were closed, and then it shrunk down to they were open like Monday through Saturday, Memorial Day to Labor Day, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's tourist season. That's fine. And then it went to Fridays and Saturdays, and now it's just Fridays. So I'm very thankful that they were open, and I got to go in and see everything and just see everything that was there. There's still so much information in my head. It was a little overwhelming, but I had written this episode before we went up, so we're going to modify it on the fly. I think I have pretty much everything, but there were a couple of things I learned, and at the end of the tour, we went outside with Zane, and there's a big, it's not foam. What was that bison made of?
Oh, I think it was like foam and plywood. It was a backboard of plywood.
Okay.
And he just the outline of a buffalo.
Yeah, and he taught us how to use atlatls, which are very cool. And it's basically this long, specially carved stick that you put your spear on, and when you throw it, it increases the velocity of the spear, which you need to reach through the hide of a bison. So that was very cool. And I would have loved to have spent all day there trying to get the technique right, but I was talking to Zane. I said, I played baseball and I pitched, so it's not natural for me to, at the release point, snap my wrist down, because you don't do that when you throw a ball, but you do when you use the atlatl. And so that's why my stuff kept sailing and not going in the right place. And I'm sure if I had practice, I'd get it no problem. But
yeah, it would be nice to practice it. Unfortunately, with further research, the Wildcat Archery Range does not allow atlatling.
Really?
No, I asked.
Oh, well,
I was impressed that the girl knew what I was talking about. But yeah, she's like, no. Which I kind of understand. It's a more unwielding, more chaotic style weapon if you're not good with it. That spear can go anywhere, versus even if you're really shitty at a bow and arrow, it's going to go relatively straight. Either straight up, straight down. But atlatl, the spear has a tendency to curve with the wind. You could almost make a C, almost like if you're bowling, you can almost make like a C where it looks like it's going off target, and then it goes right back to it. And I think that make some people nervous.
Yeah.
So I'm still looking for any place that I could
would
find
let you do that,
other than friends and private land, which might just be my own resort.
Yeah.
For those who don't really understand what we're talking about, look it up.
It's ATLATL. Atlatl.
Atlatl. And
they're very cool.
There's actually some really cool videos on YouTube. The Cherokee talk about it a lot. I guess that was more used later on in time by the Cherokee. It was used, I came to find out it was used by all cultures over the world. The atlatl is actually not unique to North America. It was found everywhere in China, Australia, Africa. So this weapon, I think, is important to actually discover and at least know about, because it was used by all of us. It wasn't just used by this one tribe, this one place. So.
And when I learned about it way back in the early 80s, like 81, 82, I learned about Central American Indians that were using it. And the way they taught it to me, I thought they were the only ones using it. It wasn't until I was in my early 20s that I was like, holy crap, everybody used this. They had their own style.
Much like the bow and arrow.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that expanded throughout all the cultures of the world.
Yeah. So we've already changed some of the episode, because my very first sentence was, I hope to make it up there one day. And then just with my other work, I haven't gotten a chance to change it. So we might change a couple things on the fly, because there were a couple of things I learned new up there that I hadn't found in my research. And my research in writing this, what was it, 2006 or 2009 was where my research stopped. That's a 20-year gap, and there's been new information. So I'm just going to fill that in as we go on what we found. And I'm citing my source as me listening to Zane tell me this stuff. So there you go.
Thank you again, Zane.
Yes. He was awesome.
And if you're wrong, so help us.
Yeah, man.
No, we'll forgive you, because again, he's not an expert of Hudson Meng. He told us that right off the bat. He's not one of those. He's not an archaeologist hanging out. He's not a paleontologist just doing like an undergrad study. He's not any of that. He's a forest ranger.
Yes.
He has his own job to do. And
unlike most state parks in Nebraska, because Hudson Meng is so close to South Dakota, Hudson Meng is managed by the Black Hills Forest Service. Right. Yes, yeah.
Well, it's still the National Forest Service.
Yeah, it's a smaller division of it.
It's a smaller division of it, but I mean, it's it's basically like the National Forest Service of the Black Hills is more or less what it is. Right?
And it's like Agate and the Scottsbluff National Monument. They work with the Black Hills Forest Association because they are so close together. If you think about Mount Rushmore, that's 3 hours from here. And
well, even less than that. I think where we were, I was talking to a friend who had came up with us, and I think it's only like an hour and a half north before you get to Wind Cave.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not far at all. So it makes sense, and that's one of the things that's neat about out here is everybody works together with everybody else, and how can we help you out, that kind of deal. So anyway, so back to Hudson Meng. It is officially called the Hudson Meng Education and Research Center. You can look up online Hudson Meng bison bone bed, bison kill. It'll all get you to the same place to find information. I'm just going to refer to it as Hudson Meng because that's what everybody calls it out here. But its official name is Hudson Meng Education and Research Center. That's just a lot to say. Hudson Meng is easier. So the bone bed itself is housed in a Quonset-style building to protect history in place. And if you don't know what a Quonset is, imagine taking a can of soup and cutting the can in half. That's what a Quonset looks like, but it's a big building that people can go in.
Yeah, Solters actually literally called those half can of bean houses.
Yeah.
That's what they were called, yeah.
Okay, I did not know that.
If you go to Catalina Island, some of them out there, they're still the old half can of bean houses that was used during the war. And they still call them that. It's that's like the common name out there. It's like, look at that half can of beans out there.
So now this is showing my ignorance. Is that where you get Cannery Row from? Or was that just canneries were there and people were... I'm not sure.
Catalina Island is a small island that was mostly ran by Wrigley, of Wrigley's Gum. He took all his baseball players out there.
Okay.
Because at Wrigley Field. He would famously take his baseball players out there and do practice. Because it's off the coast of California. And it's a couple miles, I should say a couple miles, quite a few miles off to the west of California. But once you're there, it's a very, very small island, and only the coast, the one coast that you come into, I think is the only populated part of the island. And one of the things they're known for is actually their bison, brought by Rosebud. They belonged here in the Rosebud Reservation. They were brought there for a Western movie, and they had an agreement that once that Western movie was done, that the bison would come back. Well, they did, and they missed a few. And nature does, and now, as far as I know, still to this day, the buffalo continue to graze there, roam there, breed there, and then they'll do almost kind of like what Custer State Park does. They'll do a herding, and they'll take out the healthiest or the oldest or the most infirmed, and they will take them back as to the agreement to Rosebud Reservation. They don't take them anywhere else. That's the agreement. They always have to go back to the native land because they made this agreement with the natives of the Rosebud tribe. So they didn't do this with anybody else. So it is kind of fascinating that you have, Midwestern Plains bison, which was what we're talking about now.
On an island.
On an island that was owned by Wrigley.
Wow, I had no idea. See?
Wrigley was a character, a bit of an eccentric in my opinion.
And I don't know much about him.
Oh, he had his wife made a huge, grotesque, awful monument toward him. I actually hiked it. It's quite beautiful. It's a huge complex. It's like this huge park, lots of stairs, and it goes up into this monolith kind of thing that just sticks up out of the island, and you can go up it and look out onto the island. There's like stairs. It's not like a watchtower. I guess it's a weird monolith.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
But a bit off topic to the Midwest, but it does have Midwest bison.
Yes, we're still talking about bison, which is the main thing here. So the bison bone bed, Hudson Meng, is located in the Oglala National Grassland in Northwest Nebraska. And if you type that in, you can go look and see how massive it is. And if you love being out hiking, all of Northwest Nebraska is beautiful, and you should do it. There's lots of hiking out there. Just do it on the proper trails. If you're going to go on private property, get the owner's permission, as usual.
And treat it properly. Like this isn't your Sunday jaunt.
Yeah.
Drink plenty of water. You're going out to the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And if you're hiking in most of the Oglala National Grassland, there's no trees or very few trees to provide shade. You're out there in the heat. And
the trails are not they maintain the ones as much as they can, but they're not always like perfectly to be seen.
Yeah.
And easily are mistaken for game trails.
Mm-hmm. I even did that when I hiked at Fort Robb on the Red Cloud Buttes. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many times I'm like, oh crap, I'm on a cow trail, and I had to go back and like dang it,
they're circling.
Because my brain went, I'm climbing up a butte, so I'm not thinking cows. I completely forgot that bighorn sheep live up there and mountain lions and stuff. So there's game trail up there. And antelope. I got off several times, but it was a fun day out hiking, so that's all that mattered. And I wasn't too far. I'm like 50 to 100 feet off the trail before I realize I'm off the trail, so it's easy for me to get back on. But you can very much get lost in those trails. And I have down in Wilderness Creek. I walked for about 3 hours. I don't think past 10 minutes I was on the proper trail. But it doesn't matter. I had fun out there hiking, and I found my way back, so it's all good. So if you do like that kind of hiking, there's places all over in Oglala National Grassland. Just be considerate of the land. So according to the USDA Forest Service website, the Hudson Meng Education and Research Center houses one of the most important paleoarchaeological discoveries in North America. Back in 1954, and so there's several. I don't want to say several stories. They're all the same but slightly different. It's like you and I do the same thing. We're going to tell the story slightly different. So I might modify a couple of things here, but I'm going to let you know when I modify it. because it just adds to the story. It's not that anybody's lying or anything. It's just one person. So if I tell Connor the story of thing X, I'm going to tell him these things, and then when he tells somebody else, he might leave something out because it's not really important to the story. And then 20 years from now, someone else comes along and finds both of our versions. It's not anything malicious that's different. But there were a couple of things when we watched, what was it, 8 or 9 minute little video that we watched, and there were a couple of things that popped up that I thought, oh, okay. For me, it added more to the story. So back in 1954, local rancher Albert Meng discovered the bone bed while digging for a stock pond for his cattle. The cool thing about this valley area where it's at is it had several advantageous natural resources. There's a flowing spring and wooded groves, but most importantly, the grasslands, which attracted hunter-gatherers and bison. Albert Meng hoped to use the natural landscape to funnel rain and snowmelt into the ravine where the stock pond would be. So the thing that's different from the video, they had said that like a group of people were making this stock pond, and it came off to me as Albert Meng was one of a group of cattlemen going to make this stock pond for all of their cattle. But everything he only
had grazing rights. So to be clear, he didn't own the land. This was a grassland. This is a national grassland even then, the Ogallala National Grassland. I don't know when the Ogallala grassland was given to the as such.
Yeah.
But it was already established. So he only had what are called grazing rights, which is basically your cows can come, they can eat the grass, they can drink the water, and then they have to be slaughtered. Mm-hmm. They're not allowed just to stay there.
Yeah. And he was looking, and if you go to Hudson Meng, where he was planning to build this stock pond, it's in a little valley. Nebraska is not flat, so just get rid of that lie in your head. If you stay on I-80, it's mostly flat, but no, it's not. Get off of I-80 and see the rest of the state. But there is a little valley there, and when we were there, you asked the question about the springs, and nothing in the research I had said that those springs were still there. And that gentleman, Zane, he pointed out where there's 3 of them, and how they feed into the pond that's outside of the education center, and they're still there. They still work. So it makes sense they wanted to put the pond there because it's in a natural little valley, so it's kind of protected a little bit from the elements. And it makes sense why they wanted to put the stock pond there. So they, while they're doing that, they find some bones, and Albert Meng is one of the 2 gentlemen who's given credit for finding it. We could go into a 40-minute, rabbit trail about all of that, but let's just leave it at he was the main dude. He told his friend Bill Hudson about the discovery, and they then contacted a dude at Chadron State about this weird collection of bones. If I remember correctly, it was pretty evident right away it wasn't sheep bones or cattle bones. They're like, this is something different. And they knew they had something different. And it did take them a while because this is 1954. So what Meng and Hudson, I find it interesting that Meng was the one that found it all. But Hudson was the guy that was like, come on, dude, you got to come look. Come on, dude, you got to come out and look. He was the more tenacious one. And I guess Hudson Meng sounds better than Meng Hudson. I don't know. I don't know how they decided on Hudson Meng, and who cares. But what they had found was a bone bed with nearly 600 bison skeletons, which has been interpreted as the largest Paleo-Indian age bison kill site ever discovered. So when they went to the college, they're talking to Dr. Larry Eigenbrod, who worked there and taught there, and he began excavating the area in 1968. So they find it in 54, and it's 68 before anybody comes out to start digging stuff up and looking for stuff.
Mind you, some history was going on during that time.
Yeah,
Vietnam and
54. Did we have a war in Korea?
A couple of our leaders got killed, assassinated. I think we went to the moon around about that time, actually.
So it's not a high priority, but Bill Hudson was tenacious and kept going back. There's something here. There's something here. I've also seen the documentation that it was 1971, and I know once we were up at Hudson Meng, their dates are 1971, not 68. I can speculate, given that I have been on archaeological digs. Larry Eigenbrod, this is all my speculation, just from my own personal experiences. You go out in 68, yep, there's something here, and then the next summer you get some funding, you do a little bit, you get some more funding, and then 71 is when you're like, oh my God, look at all this stuff. That's just my guess. I have not read the scientific papers and stuff on it, but I can see where it would have taken another 3 years, and that's why they teach you at Hudson Meng 71. That is more likely the date when all the big stuff is. I went with the 68 date because that's the one that's on the Black Hills Parks and Forest Association website. Does it matter? No, it's a 3-year difference. It doesn't matter. It's not like somebody snuck in there and put some extra bones in there, because it's a huge site. And think about how many bones there are in more than 600 skeletons. It was still there. Who cares if it's 68 or 71? Regardless, the site is known as the largest Alberta culture bison kill site ever discovered, and that Alberta culture is named for the type of spearheads, the rock, and it was these particular people used this particular rock, and they were part of a particular culture. So it all makes sense. I don't want to sit here and spend 20 minutes explaining it, but
if we do talk about spear points, these are again spear points, not arrowheads.
No, they're spear points.
I will try not to say arrowhead, because I made that mistake up there. It's like, oh crap, it's not an arrowhead. I never went on an arrow, went on a spear, dummy.
Yeah. And then we learned how to use an atlatl, which uses spears, but that's okay.
Uses spears,
It's an easy mistake arrow to make. Yeah, that's essentially what it is. It's a bigger, thinner arrow, but it is a spear point. It goes onto a spear. So the remains, however, are the bones of a predecessor to the modern American bison. It was bigger than today's bison and is named Bison antiquus, which means extinct bison, and the bison today are known as bison. So bison is the genus and bison is the species. And
gave up on the naming, I guess.
I don't know how you got to bison, but
bison antiquus. What is this one? Bison. I don't know.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. It's just a bison.
And there's a neat thing, if you go online and you type the word bison, I think 7 times, it actually makes a complete sentence, and there's a whole Wikipedia page about it, and it's very cool. But it's just like bison. And each word means something different, even though it's the same word. But anyway, I forget the name of the bison that's in between bison and bison antiquus, but antiquus is what's up there.
It's funny because I think we did know, and I forgot, because when we went to Fort Robinson, I believe that was there. I believe it said there that wasn't bison. There was bison antiquus, but I thought it gave the lineage of the bison in that museum.
It does, and I literally did not write it down because I thought, I'll remember that. And now I'm sitting here going, I don't remember what it was. But there was one in between antiquus and bison. So anyway, but it was bigger than the bison today. And I don't know if you've ever stood next to a bison. I'm 5'4", and they're all bigger than me. I wouldn't mess with a bison today. I can't imagine one that's bigger than the ones today. I mean, I can imagine, but I have
been
terrifying.
Uncomfortably close to live bison, by which I mean I ran right into one's butt in the middle of the night. So not fun. Big, terrifying creatures.
I have been next to one in a car, and it was sitting down, and its head was, sorry, not a car, a minivan, and it was sitting down, and its head was still above the bottom of the window in the minivan.
Yeah, especially the bulls. The bulls get pretty big.
Yeah, so I was terrified that day, and I had my in-laws with me, my mom, my grandma, my husband, and my nephew, and my nephew was like 11 at the time. And thankfully everything worked out, but it was terrifying because if he's going to attack the car, the window's open, and I'm right there. I'm the first one to get gored. So, but they are sizable animals. So imagining 2 species back, they're even bigger. I'm amazed that dudes were brave enough to kill them. I guess, it's dinner. You're going to, whatever. You still got to kill them and eat them, but I wouldn't be out there hunting with you. I'm only 5'4".
They do taste really good.
Yeah,
I actually bison a lot during my life.
Yeah,
I mean,
and though it kind of covers up the flavor of the bison, we just had bison sloppy joes 2 days ago.
I mean, for those who have never eaten bison before, if you get the chance, go for it. I encourage you to come down to the Midwest and don't go to some fancy steakhouse in New York and pay $700. No offense, New York, but I mean, you guys get the weirdest things out of the weirdest places and charge a premium for it.
Yeah, I don't even think it costs more for a bison burger versus a hamburger at Fort Robb. It might be like 50 cents more, maybe $1 more, but it's not like a ridiculous amount more.
We have the Buffalo Bison Buffalo Company. I think it's Buffalo something company, or just called the Buffalo Company. But it's a buffalo slaughterhouse. It's here in the Midwest. I don't remember where. I think it's in North Dakota. But it's basically a more humane way, if you can call it humane, but more of an idea of a slaughterhouse where they raise them like cows, graze them, slaughter them humanely. They don't hunt them down, and that's where a grand majority of your bison meat, at least in the Midwest here, comes from. Is from that one place. And even out as far as New York, I was amazed at how much it's like, oh, this is the Bison Company. Like, I don't know, I know this place.
Yeah, and then they just charge more because it's on the East Coast instead of here.
Because it's weird.
And in all honesty, when I bought the pound of bison meat the other day, it was only $1 more a pound than hamburger meat.
That's why I encourage people. It's like, if you really want to do it, well, make the trip. You can see a real bison and then eat it.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so I want to read a quote from you. I can't talk today, Connor. I want to read a quote to you from the Black Hills Parks and Forest Association website. The importance of the Hudson Meng to both paleontology and archaeology cannot be overstated. It represents one of the largest and best preserved Paleo-Indian sites in North America, offering invaluable insights into the lives of both ancient bison and the early humans who inhabited this region. The site has become a cornerstone in our understanding of Great Plains ecology, climate change, and human adaptation during the transition from the Pleistocene to the Holocene epoch. And for those of you that don't... Epic.
Epoch.
Okay, fine. Epoch, whatever.
There's an epic. It's epoch.
Whatever.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
This is going to become a thing.
Yeah, because
Let us know in the comments how you pronounce it.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. For those of you that don't know, we currently live in the Holocene. So...
Epoch.
I'm not saying it again. I know I've written it again, and I'm not saying it again. It's going to be the whole Rubadoo, Robido, Robadia, whatever.
Robadio.
So back in the 1970s, Eigenbrod also found, and I believe I'm pronouncing his name right because I'm pronouncing it the way Zane said it when we were up there.
Yeah, when it comes to people's names, I don't know.
Okay.
But it's Montrose, not Montrose.
Montrose. And you call it Montrose. It's Montrose.
Montrose. Never mind.
Yeah. So back in the 1970s, Eigenbrod also found stone projectile points and theorized that the bison were driven off a steep cliff by hunters who moved carcasses to the nearby bone bed site. So what's the mystery or lingering controversy over this site? Because that was the predominant theory for a very, very long time. Well, some people think Eigenbrod might not be right about how the bones actually got there. And so I'm going to list some theories about how it happened, but just know that scientists who have studied the evidence are still debating the theories, and something else new might come up. I think I kind of go with this one theory we're going to get to in a second here. Yeah. But one thing Zane showed us was where this supposed cliff would be, and the archaeological evidence does not point to any place in the area being large enough to be a cliff where you would knock the bison or chase them off of a cliff, their legs are broken, and then you can come in and kill them. Like, none of the bison legs are, I mean, there might be a few that have their legs broken, but the vast majority, like 99% of them, don't have broken legs.
Yeah, and when you go out there, as old as it was, the landscape itself didn't change that drastically.
No.
There was more vegetation, there was more water, absolutely. The climate was different, but there wasn't basically the Scottsbluff Monument there one day and then not there now. There's no evidence of that.
It just didn't happen. So I get that that's what his theory was, because he's trying to figure out in 1971, how the heck did all these bison bones get into this one place? So the Eigenbrod theory posits a situation where about 600 bison were driven over a cliff between about 10,200 and 11,200 years ago. This theory points to the Alberta culture, who were the ancestors of modern Native Americans who came in the area to hunt. And as we've talked many times on this podcast, people didn't live here. They went through here when they were hunting. They might live here for a couple of weeks while they're hunting, but it wasn't their permanent home. And
yeah, they were what we call hunter-gatherers.
Yeah, exactly.
They moved. They weren't what we now. I don't think nomadic's the right word, because when I think of nomadic, I think of like
continually moving. Hunter-gatherers move to certain places for a certain amount of time.
Nomadic, I always think of herding. Like they actually herd the animals, or they actually somewhat move with the herd itself. Mm-hmm. They don't they follow it, and I'm sure that came in later about. But these people, I think, were just trying to get to the other side, whatever other side that was.
And like I said, the folks that did hunt the animals in this area all throughout western Nebraska, they did follow the herds, but for hunting, and then they went back to their settlements. So they weren't true nomadic people. It was more hunter-gatherers. They went out, they tracked the animals, a couple weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month, and then brought everything back. So they weren't true nomadic.
If you want a modern example of a nomadic tribe, one of the few left that I know of, and that'd be the Brahmins of the desert of I can't think of the desert, the Sahara. The Brahmin people of the Sahara Desert.
Okay.
The people that literally were the desert people.
Yeah.
They would move their cows and their goats, sheep, camels, and that was their meat source. But that's what they did, is they would herd. They herd these animals to oases to
just from place to place. Okay.
But they don't ever let them out of their sight. I think that is a modern, and maybe that's something that's like a modern example of a nomadic tribe.
Okay. So this theory also contends that there were several groups of hunters that may or may not have used fire as a means to force an ancient bison stampede off a cliff where the animals died. So theoretically, after the bison were dead or dying and the Alberta culture peoples killed the bison, they processed the meat and fur on site or nearby. And that was a theory for close to 20 years, little over 20 years.
Since I was young, that was one of the main theories.
Yeah.
It was just starting to become debated as I was becoming a teenager.
Yeah. And as more and more studies go by, because you're going to have paleontologists that they concentrate on bones. Paleontologists deal more with bones. They do deal a little bit with plant life and stuff, but if you're a good paleontologist, you're going to get someone that's an expert in soil geology to come out and say, hey, this is my theory, is this right? And then there's going to be more study and more study and more study. And that's essentially what's been going on since 1954. So my personal opinion is this could happen. But once I went out there and I talked to Zane and he was presenting the evidence and he goes, here is the spot where they said they think it happened. And I'm like, that's not big enough to throw bison over. Okay, maybe a few could trip over, but they're not all going to be stupid enough to fall. And then he went into the evidence about why it was never high enough for this to happen.
Not to mention the bone site itself is so massive. You would have had to talk about not just a cliff, but a rather large cliff.
Yes.
To leave a large scattering of bones.
Yes. So while that probably was a good theory at the time, we found other things. I've read stories over the years in different places about how to corral animals to make for easier kills, and we're going to come back to corrals in a minute, but it was not corralling them and sending them off a cliff. I think the Alberta culture people were smart enough to do this, but the landscape is not conducive to doing that. They're really, unless you manage...
And it does make you wonder, because this did happen for anyone who this is a technique that was actually used. There are sites that actually did this. However, one of the things that I saw, and I think unless the museum changed when I was a kid, they showed something similar around Scottsbluff Monument. And there is no archaeological evidence whatsoever that any kill sites were anywhere around the Wildcat Hills or anywhere around the monument. Even though that would be a pretty decent place. There's several decent places where if you could get them to the right place, up the right, valleys and up the right, you could lead them off into those high plains and have them go off. That wasn't done.
Yeah. And when you think about it too, if you go through Mitchell Pass, like at the monument, and you look below and just imagine there were, tens of thousands of bison there. You don't need to corral them. You could almost walk up to them and just shove a spear in them. There were so many. So they wouldn't even have to resort to that. But there's no archaeological evidence anyway. I mean, they have looked at that in this area and they haven't found anything. The
whole idea of doing this of doing the cliff jumps was... as far as I was always taught, it was a big deal, a big hunt for a large community. So if the community wasn't large enough to justify a cliff jump, there's no need to do that. Why would you kill 300 bison if your tribe's only going to eat 20?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they would be so wasteful.
No.
There wouldn't be much point in risking your own life. After all, these buffalo will kill you. Any of these bisons could turn around. How they chased them off cliffs was very dangerous. Again, horses were not around yet, nowhere close to being around yet. And by the time they were around, they did not do cliff jumps no more, because with the horse came the gun. And so a lot of people need to remember that. It's like the Europeans brought the horse and the gun at the same time. So it wasn't just bringing one weapon on like a horse, which is a weapon, but they also brought the guns, which is a weapon that made any sort of cliff jumping completely superfluous. You don't have to do that.
Yep.
And you also ran the risk of having your own horse maybe jump off the cliff with you. So.
Yeah. Or your horse stopping at the edge of the cliff and forward momentum is sending you over the cliff.
But there are horrible pictures, and there's horrible history out there, and we're all a part of it. I was a part of it. I know I've seen pictures of Native Americans herding bison off cliffs with horses. I do not ever believe that was possible to happen. I don't see the point of it. Yeah, and it's especially at Hudson Meng, there is zero archaeological evidence anywhere that happened.
So this was the predominant theory until the 1990s, when further research came up with another theory, which has a few moving parts in it, and it can be a little confusing. It generally encompasses a natural causes idea, and it kind of goes like this. The bison get freaked out by some kind of natural cause, like lightning or a grass fire. They get spooked. They forget where they are, and they stampede away. And oh no, they've stampeded away off a cliff into what is Hudson Meng site. That was another theory, and of course once the archaeological evidence said, yeah, there was never a cliff here, okay, well that doesn't work, and they tried to figure out how to work it in. Okay, it wasn't off of a cliff, but could they have stampeded into each other or down Unlikely. A small ravine or something, you know? Yeah.
I only say that's unlikely because of modern bison and what we know of things that happened. Like when I was at Custer State Park, we forced her stampedes. We did it on purpose. So we kind of then, and even before knew the science of stampedes, we've also had several fires up there. I've never heard of any bison heard a bison getting caught in Custer State Park. At least not the whole herd itself, maybe one or two, because we didn't really mention this yet, and I didn't get asked Zane this yet because I should have asked him. During the mating season, when the females finally have their calves, they'll chase the males away. At least bison. I don't know about bison antiquus, but bison, that's what they do. If their ancestors did anything like that, there's a good chance that everything in this pit is just female and babies. There might not be any males or very, very little males. So that also kind of adds to some mystery there. But as far as I know, I don't remember anything. We also have needles up in Custer State Park, one of the tallest points in this area. You know, you can see Pikes Peak from Harney Peak, but there's never a lot of bison don't go up there.
Black Elk Peak
now, but they don't.
Yeah, they don't go up there.
A lot of evidence of them traveling up there, and they just. I shouldn't say they hate heights. It's just they know better, and so I find it hard to believe that they're going. If they're not going to go as high as that area, why would they go into the valley and then get caught?
Yeah,
something like that. it seems so unlikely.
Yeah. So when I was thinking about this, I was thinking it might be possible because we do have a lot of lightning strikes striking trees and starting grass fires out in western Nebraska. We literally just had that happen a couple of months ago, and a crap ton of stuff burned. But you know, I'm trying to think back 10,000 years ago. It probably happened. Not probably. It did happen. Yes, you had your Alberta culture, but they're not the firemen of today. They're going to safety too. They're not going to try and put out tens of thousands of acres of fire. It just burns till it burns out. And I would imagine even if you got some bison spooked by it, they're not going to run toward a cliff. And then I tried to think, okay, how much smoke is going to be in there and how much dirt are they kicking up that they wouldn't see the cliff is there. Like, I'm trying to process how they came up with that theory. And did the bison get disoriented and accidentally run off a cliff? Well, maybe one or two, but not as many as what's at Hudson Meng. So it sort of makes sense. If you're running at pace and you're right behind the dude that goes off a cliff, you might not be able to stop and you go too. But hopefully the third or fourth guy behind you is like, oh yeah, I need to stop now. I don't want to go over a cliff. So it seems plausible. But again, once you find out that the hills out here have never been big enough for cliffs, the hills around the area where the bone bed is were never high enough for that to happen, you're like, then it's not plausible.
And also, if you know how fires start and spread, especially by lightning, which we do know a lot about. I showed you the report of the South Fork fire. We know exactly where that started. We know exactly how it spreaded. Most fires don't start as a circle and encircle for them to be like encapsulated by fire. Even in this valley that we went to, I do not see that happening. You still had a far valley to the east. It could easily have gone down. And if there was any sort of, and there'd be wind. So it'd just be very unlikely that I think you'd have this Harry Potter style circle of fire going around the bison, and there's, oh no, what are we going to do? It just seems, it's possible, but very, very improbable.
And that's part of how science works. Here's a theory. Could this work? Yeah.
Hypothesis.
Okay, but yeah.
It's not a theory, it's a hypothesis. I'm just saying.
But this became a theory. They started with a hypothesis. They came up with this theory, and then over time they kept rechecking it.
Hypothesis and theory gets tossed around. Technically, the theory is the end result,
like
in the scientific method, like how we have any other theory. So technically, it was never a theory. It was only ever a hypothesis until it could be disproven, and then finally, by the zeitgeist of science, accepted as a theory, which we know they don't.
Yeah,
they don't.
But so they really did for a short time. That's why I'm going to theory.
Theory and hypothesis gets thrown around in every scientific field. and it gets interchangeably used. But I guess if you coming from a person who took a biology class, my biology teacher was very picky about that. Like you couldn't call something a theory that was really just a hypothesis.
Coming from someone who studied anthropology, their original end result was a theory, but they kept going back and checking it because they found new evidence.
Yeah, which you're right. The end results of
theory.
Yeah.
So all this stuff at Hudson Meng falls in that gray area of we think this is the theory that they went off the cliff. Okay, we keep doing research. Oh no, that's not what it is. So that's not the theory anymore. So now we think it was a natural event, and it became the leading theory for a while, and then they did more research, which we're going to get to in a minute, and this probably wasn't it. So it's not a theory. So it kind of muddies the water because
there's a lot of scientific fields that do that.
Yeah.
They do that a lot.
So the other part of this is that there was some other kind of natural event, such as disease or drought, and all of the bison died conveniently in this big area, and the humans come along and just act as scavengers. While it's still a mystery of how many ancient bison died all at once in one convenient place, I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah. And it was disproven, ultimately.
Yeah.
Because they didn't all die. They didn't all come from the same place. They didn't all come from the same time.
Yep. So one of the things the paleontologists looked at was the lack of clear cut marks on many of the bones and the unusual preservation of complete skeletons. Added some weight to this weird alternate explanation. After all, the thought was if the bison were being deliberately hunted for food and supplies, large portions of the animal would have been removed for transport to a camp or village. But I've also read, and we're getting to the main new theory that I think is right. I've also read that the spear and they have found some arrow points, but by and large, it's like a 95 to 5% ratio.
I thought Zane said 3 overall.
Was it 3? Okay, overall. So it's 99.9%.
Only 3 spears were found in the entire site thus far. So that's not a lot. And I don't mean 3%. I mean 3 spearheads, just 3.
Yeah. So the defense of this says that spear and arrow points went into the bones of the ancient bison, and then they were lost by later hunters. I don't know. It feels like they're starting to grasp with this idea of how things were.
I don't think so at the atlatl. Now that I saw it, the most important part of the atlatl was the spear. It wasn't the handle, and I think those would have been retrieved at any cost.
Yes,
it would have been.
But this isn't getting to the atlatl yet.
You're talking about bows and arrows.
Yeah, it's the that part says that they lost them there, and then
So they were
somebody
still
else
under the
picked them up
assumption that
later.
They were bowed down with
Yes.
arrows.
Yes.
Which we know now that
Right.
wasn't the case.
Right.
That was not old enough yet.
Yeah. But for me to believe this, I need to believe that the bison just happened to die and no humans came along to see any of this happen and collect the meat. It doesn't make sense to me. I would also need to believe that even though ancient humans hunted in the area, they didn't see a giant pit of 600 bison, and they just camped nearby, and they used their valuable and limited spears and arrow points for target practice into the bison, because this theory they had more points. I get it. You can get more spears and arrowheads back home, but if you're coming through this area hunting, you're not going to leave your crap behind.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
Well, but arrows, I agree. You would expect to find, if they were using an arrow and a bow, you would absolutely expect to find arrowheads and shafts or remnants of such, because that's happened.
Yeah.
We have that all the time. Arrows are much easier to lose inside of a bison than a spear.
Yeah. And I would also expect you to, if you're hunting them all down, whether it's lightning, drought, or you drove them over a cliff, I'm going to expect to see more broken spears, more broken points, and you don't see that here. So it just, that theory, hypothesis, doesn't make sense to me. It was a theory at one point in time, and then people started poking holes in it, and we did more research, and they're like, yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Which I retorted, was it ever a theory? Or was it ever a hypothesis and you guys jumped the gun?
I think it was a faulty theory, and it was a case of everyone wanted this to be right.
That's what I mean. It's a hypothesis and you jumped the gun.
Yeah, essentially.
We do that a lot.
So like any good scientist, you need to keep working because no one knows for sure. And this work continues to go on at Hudson Meng even through today. And one of the things that we learned up there, which I don't want to say I believe, I accept the evidence, is that they corralled a few bison at a time into the area, killed them, processed them. So the evidence we have for that is there are very few skulls found there. And when you go in there, I'm not going to say northwest corner, but there's a corner in the site where you can see a flattened skull that they haven't removed. It's there. You will find the bottom jawbone. There's one almost entirely intact skeleton.
You find a lot of bottom of the jaw.
There's a lot of bottom jaws.
Because as Kyle explained,
Kyle.
Zane. Why did I say Kyle?
That's okay.
Zane explained. I think Kyle, was that the name of the other guy? Anyway.
I don't remember the other guy's name.
They they would break open the skulls and use the brains for tanning. And that's what they use to tan the hides.
Yes.
Amongst other things. There's a process.
Yes.
But that was part of the things they used.
And I can tell you from attending a Sundance and the little knowledge I have of Lakota, and I'm going by Lakota. These were not Lakota people. These were their predecessors.
I guess we should have mentioned that.
Yes.
And it might not even have been the Lakota alone's predecessors. We're talking about many tribes maybe.
Yeah. You've got half a dozen tribes at least that we know went through here. But the Lakota in the Sundance, they use bison skulls in part of it. And, I know there's documentation online about what happens. Go find it, go read it. But I made a promise that I would not describe certain things that I saw. So I'm going to stick with it. But I did see bison skulls, and they do use them in ceremonies. And I know other tribes use them in ceremonies.
Of
so they're
course
using the
use
brain
ceremonies.
to tan the hides, and they've got the skull still. So it makes sense why the skulls aren't there. And then they have done radiocarbon dating on the bones, and some of them are neatly layered, but a lot of it is mixed in. Mm-hmm. And there's a 400 to 500 year time span of the bones. So it makes sense that regardless of how they killed them, I think the corral thing makes more sense to do that. But that was, to me, that's where they're processing them after they've killed them, and they just left the bones there. And then over 400 to 500 years, that's what I do. And then you come along, and I'm using me and you as an example because I'm older than you. So I teach you, this is where we kill them and process them. And we just leave the bones here. For whatever reason, they just left the bones there. And it makes sense that things were processed there because you don't find, thousands or even hundreds of spear points. You don't find broken spears. You're not finding the skull, so that makes sense that they took the hides and did that someplace else. That makes sense to me. Will they find something in the future that confirms it? Maybe. Will they find something that says, oh, hey, this is not the right theory anymore. We found this other evidence. Sure, because only a very small fraction of that site has been found. Not found.
Unearthed.
I mean, excavated. Yeah. Sorry, not found. They have it mapped out. It's massive, but again, it costs money, and they're satisfied at the moment with what they have to continue to work with and process. So that makes sense to me. The corral theory makes sense to me, that they then, took the meat and the hides and the skull. Sure. And went back.
And when people think of corralling, again, I think people have a modern American approach to it. You have horses and cows and gates and stuff like this. But during the buffalo roundup actually technically starts a few weeks before the roundup itself, because you have to get all the bison in one area to go down into the corrals. So what they do is that they basically just start following the herds and gently nudging them. They don't do anything. They don't shoot them. They don't really even make loud noises. It's all gentle coaxing. It's quite amazing how they do it. And they'll coax all the females and the babies. Again, most of the bulls they usually leave alone. There might be a few that they do, but the bulls are mean. But the females will go along with the babies, and the babies are just kind of la-di-da-ha-ha, and they'll just go where they're told. And so within, the 2.5 weeks before the roundup, all the males and all the babies and the mamas are in one place. And then you have the day of the buffalo roundup, where you think that all of a sudden, there's all these like bison coming down this hill. And it's like, well, that took a lot of work. Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't do something very similar, where if the bison really were like a sea, like is often described by the pioneers, that it was like a sea of buffalo, it'd probably make more sense to pick off a small group,
a few,
and lead them away.
Yes.
Just naturally lead them away, doing natural things. Most of the times, the way we did it in Custer State Park was just being there, and we'd basically just move a few steps forward because they naturally didn't want the humans next to them. So you really didn't have to do much to get them to where you wanted to go.
And when you add in the evidence that you have more than 600 skeletons over a period of 400 to 500 years, you're not taking a lot of bison at one point in time, which means that these weren't massive tribes. And if you think about it, even if you have a tribe, say you have a tribe of 500, 600, 700 people, there's only going to be a few going out and hunting, and they're only going to get a few, and they're going to use all parts of all the meat from the animal. So it's probably smaller groups of people feeding smaller groups of people.
And as Zane said, from this site, the meat was almost secondary. It wasn't the meat they wanted; it was the fat. The fat and the hides. That's what they used to make their like sinew. That's how they used to tie their things. The fat kept them warm. It's what helped them do all sorts of things. The fat of the buffalo was actually more useful than the meat. So that was pretty interesting to know.
So one neat thing about this site is that their signage all over the place is designed to be able to be quickly updated. I just thought this was kind of cool. So if they learn new information, they can quickly update their signs and get the most recent factual information out to the public. And I'm a bit of a dork about that kind of stuff. So I thought it was really cool that they're able to update stuff quickly when they need to. Mm-hmm. So in 2005, there was evidence found of other Paleo-Indian cultures, which suggests that this site wasn't just one tribe. And as Connor mentioned a few minutes ago, there's evidence, even up through the 1800s that many tribes went through here. Many hunter-gatherer groups and nomadic hunter groups went through this area. And they now have evidence of that, which lends itself more to that latest theory, which is the corral theory.
And we really even talk about why they traveled down that thin corridor a whole lot. It was largely, again, theory, that this is one of the passages that mankind took to get to the south. I mean, it was the glaciers were melting, and this was basically the middle way to get south. And the basin, or the great, what am I thinking of? It's the Great Plains. I was trying to be.
Oh, you mean like the Great Inland Sea?
No, the Great Plains, the plains itself. But as Zane was describing, it goes all the way from North Dakota
all the way down
to New Mexico, down to the top of New Mexico. I think actually top of Texas. So that's a corridor. So if you think about it, if basically inhospitable, and then you have this corridor of life that kind of comes down the middle, and that's what they were following.
That's where they were at, yeah. So I'm going to quote one more time from the Black Hills website. More recent excavations have uncovered evidence of multiple human occupations at the site over hundreds of years, suggesting a complex history of human-bison interactions. The presence of different types of projectile points, including both Cody and Eden points, indicates that various groups of Paleo-Indians visited and used the site over an extended period. The ongoing debate makes Hudson Meng a fascinating case study in archaeological interpretation. It demonstrates how new evidence and evolving scientific methods can reshape our understanding of the past. As a visitor, you're not just observing history, you're witnessing the dynamic process of scientific inquiry in action. So they have the Alberta culture, and they have very specific points, and they have also found Cody and Eden points, which are two other cultures.
And they do have a wonderful display of this at Bison Meng, Hudson Meng. They have all the spearheads. I thought actually that was probably one of the coolest things.
Yeah, that was very.
That place, they have all of them.
And when Zane was talking about it and he started to walk away, I'm like, wait, dude, I'm still looking at it. Wait, stop talking. Let me look and process, because it's a lot of information. But he did go over it thoroughly, and it's just a lot of info.
Again, very impressed. I really again would like to thank him so much, because this is something that is his passion. Yeah. It's not like his sole job. He's told me he's not a scholar.
Yeah. And and he even said that, he does his job 4 other days of the week, and this is his one day at Hudson Meng, and he chooses to be there.
Yeah. And I saw his did you see what his partner was reading?
No.
His partner was actually reading a book on spearheads.
Really?
Like spearhead identification. Because I looked at the cover, I'm like, so in their lay time, at least these two, I imagine, are still doing research to try to do the best for us, for people who come there, because there's nobody else. Yeah. And they really are. And these are young people. I mean,
those dudes were like late 20s at best, I would think.
Yeah, mid to later 20s, but definitely nowhere close to you and I's age. So I appreciate the youth. I appreciate what they do. I appreciate their passion.
And if you want to explore these theories that we're bringing up, these guys explain it way better than either one of us can. And you can visit Hudson Meng and check it out for yourself, because there's a ton of information there. They love when you ask questions.
Oh, he did.
And
I think he was kind of surprised.
Yeah.
Like, you came with questions.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, because the folks that were there before us that he was taking around, he was talking to them, and then he was like, do you have any questions?
Yeah, they're kind of meh.
Yeah.
The whole thing looked kind of meh to them.
And when he got to us, we were all like, what about this? What about this? And the spring, what's going on with the spring? You know, everybody had questions. And there was someone in our group that was 11 or 12, had questions. And they were insightful questions. It was awesome. So if you're curious, you know, just go up there and check it out for yourself. Anyway, so I'm just making this a little side note because I couldn't find a good place to put it elsewhere. In 1997, the central part of the bone bed got a climate-controlled enclosure, and that was completed and covers a large portion of the site, and it's about the size of a football field.
And that's the Quonset.
That's the Quonset, yeah. So until then, I believe it was just tents most of the summer.
It was an open tent. I went there when it was still a tent.
Still a tent, you go.
I remember before that site was officially covered up. Yeah, it was a tent. It was just a tent.
So they've progressed, and as they've gotten more funding and stuff, they've protected it more than what it was in the past. So there just was nowhere else I could find to fit it in where it worked.
No. Well, that was good to know because, I remember, and not just me, I was talking to my husband, Jason, because he went up there as a kid too, and he's like, I remember it was a tent. Like,
that would have been cool.
There was no building there because I went there several times throughout my life. So in 1997, I was pretty young. Still, and before that I was definitely young, but afterwards I think I went again in high school, and by then it was like the 2004 2005 era, and they had that Quonset already built. But it's remarkable what they accomplished and got done.
Yeah, it's very cool. So Hudson Meng is 18 miles northwest of Crawford, Nebraska. You will be traveling on dirt roads, and you will hear loud clangs against the metal on the underside of your Toyota Yaris, and
with low profile tires.
I mean, I love my little car, but that was a mistake to take my car up there.
Well, and that being said, pay attention to the weather. That place does close. The roads do close because of mudslides. Snow. Yeah. You know what that is, right?
Yeah.
It's just I remember that white powdery stuff from the air.
Yeah, it does get rather nasty when it rains up there. The type of sediment that is up there, the road turns into this gooey clay. It's gross. And when I have hiked out there, which we'll get to in a second, we're almost done, folks. I will explain it more when we get to it, but your feet get stuck in it. So now imagine my Toyota Yaris is 2,500 pounds, and it gets stuck. I wouldn't go up there if it's been raining or snowing. You can certainly drive up to the spot where you turn off on the road and then use your own best judgment, because ain't nobody coming out to get you if you get stuck out there. You're just stuck.
And if you're not out there, if you're out there on the only Fridays that they're open and you didn't check the warnings whether they closed up, they're not there.
Yeah,
They never showed up.
Yep. Because the roads are going to get that gooey clay stuff when it gets wet. I've experienced on hikes, and my feet got stuck in the mud.
So be conscious. Always give them a call. Yep. Even if it's a few hours before you go, give them a call.
Give them a call just to make sure they're there. Yes. And I will tell you, folks, we went out there on Friday, and I needed my regularly scheduled oil change and tire rotation. I had gotten an email the week before, and so there was time on Saturday. So when I pulled up, I told the guy, I was like, I was out on Hudson Meng, driving on the dirt roads up there at Hudson Meng. He's like, where's that? And I told him, and I said, it's not far from Toadstool. He's like, oh, you drove out there with this? And I'm like, yeah. I go, could you please check the underside of my car to make sure there's no damage? And there wasn't. I have some dings under there just from rocks kicking up. But yeah, did sound like someone took a metal hammer and was banging on the bottom of my car. It was scary.
We went past several cattle guards.
Yeah.
And the cattle guards are not very well maintained.
No.
So.
That's the first time I've ever had that happen on a cattle guard. And I've driven over them many times in my car down here in the Scottsbluff area. I've never had that happen before.
It's better than wanting the bars breaking. It happened to me once.
Ooh,
it's not fun when the bars break.
No. So do just be mindful of the weather and the conditions and what kind of car you're driving when you go out there. So to get out there, take Highway 71 north to Toadstool Road, then turn west on Sand Creek Road and follow the signs to the site. In total, you're about 15 miles on dirt roads.
And you feel it.
Yeah,
As we were saying, it's like, are we there yet? It's like, no, it really is 15 miles.
Yeah.
Like a mile down a 80 mile, like going down the highway at 80 miles an hour, one mile's nothing.
Yeah.
It's going to feel like something out here. You can't go that fast.
Yeah.
I don't suggest you even try going that fast.
I was doing, what did I say? When I got to 45, the back end started the fishtail, and I was like, dude, I'm going to slow down. Yeah, we're good. So do take a tour when you get there. They provide a tour, and it's very good. It's very informative. And if you get there early enough in the day, maybe you do this hike first and then take the tour later on. But consider taking the 6-mile round-trip hike on the Bison Trail, which connects Hudson Meng to the Hudson Meng Visitor Center to Toadstool Geologic Park. This will give you a splendid view of the Ogallala National Grassland. Back in 2017, USA Today said that hike was one of the top 10 hiking trails in America, which is cool.
I'm modest, but I think it's one of the better ones I've ever done.
It is definitely one of the better ones
weird.
I've done. It's in my top 5.
It's right up there with like the Badland hikes. It's alien. Once you get there, it's very alien. You don't quite know whether you're still on planet Earth, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I can tell you I've done this hike. It is from Hudson Meng to the edge of Toadstool is 3 miles each way. But you're not going to go to Toadstool and go, oh, nice, and turn around. You're going to hike around. The day that I went, it was 8.77 miles round trip. So plan on that.
And I think there's more than one trail around Toadstool.
There is, and we're going to get to it in our next episode. This is just the Bison Trail between the two. So make sure you take plenty of water, and if you think, is 3 bottles of water enough, take more. Take more. And take snacks with you. I readily tell people I'm a diabetic, and I took snacks with me because I thought it was 6 miles and hadn't calculated those extra 2. I was glad I had snacks because my blood sugar started dropping about 1.5 miles before we were done, and I had to stop and eat my snacks, waited a few minutes, and then I'm like, okay, I'm okay, I can keep going again.
Take snacks, especially, well, if you're diabetic, sweet snacks, but even not salty snacks for your, get your electrolytes up.
Yep. Just plan ahead. And there is a little ravine you go into where there's a couple of trees, but 98% of that hike, you're out on the prairie.
Yes.
Wear a proper hat, put some sunscreen on, because you're not.
Do not go wearing shorts. Get boots and jeans. I know I know that's terrible. I know people hate it when it's like, I got to hike in the hot with pants. It would behoove of you to do so in this particular trail because it's tall grass. There are rattlesnakes out there, and if you get bit, you're not in a good way.
And when I did the hike, I did it in March.
Yeah.
I want to say it was 2017, 2018 when I went. But we did it in March because we knew the snakes were not going to be out yet.
And I always suggest wearing pants. Don't ever rely on the seasons to say, well, there's not a snake there. There's plenty of things that pants
I still
are good
wore
for.
pants.
Pants are good for pants and boots. If you can, hiking boots especially. I wouldn't go as far as saying like tall boots like to like snake guards or anything, because I think if you're smart enough, you'll be okay. Yeah. But
my boots just go just above my ankles.
Yeah. But shorts, you're going to run into a lot of problems. You're going to get, all sorts of things are going to bite you. The grass itself is sharp. It's going to scratch you. You're not going to have a good time. Always bring long sleeves with you and something warm because the weather changes really fast. So make sure you're prepared for that. Bring a poncho.
Yep.
Be wise if it gets too wet. Even if you have heavy clothes and you're wet, you can get hypothermia.
Yep.
So
Just be prepared.
Bleeding out my speech that I used to give to all the hikers.
Yeah. just be prepared. And we're getting way ahead of ourselves on this because in our next episode, we're going to start with going across that trail to Toadstool, and then we're going to talk about Toadstool.
101, a whole thing on
that. Yeah. And we're probably going to repeat a lot of this stuff in the next episode because as long as you take the precautions, your hike is going to be cool. It is. I'm probably going to say it probably is my favorite hike that I've ever done. And I went through different sceneries while I was going. I had a blast, and I'll tell you about it next time. For now, this is it on Hudson Meng.
Oh, one more thing.
Go ahead.
You didn't mention it. If you guys do go to Hudson Meng, it is a $5 per person entry fee.
That's right.
I just remembered that.
Right.
And the tour, you can either choose to do it or not, but that isn't for the tour. That's just to go into the half can of beans and see the bones, I believe, right?
I don't know. You paid. You wouldn't let us pay.
I'm pretty sure that was what it was. Okay. I think the entry, no matter what, is $5 to get into the half can of beans, not to do the trail, not to walk around outside. But I think to go into the Quonset and to go any further, I believe that was what the $5 was for, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And then the tour is included in that. So
yes.
You get a little something, but it's not completely free.
Yeah. So, it's $5. They do take credit cards, so if you get there and you're like, crap.
Yeah. Unlike Toadstool, which is free if you have your sticker.
Yeah. Yep.
And bring your sticker. I forgot that too. Make sure you have your state park stickers because this is a grassland and you can get fined for that.
Yeah.
So make sure you get your state park sticker.
Yes.
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
So that's it for Hudson Meng. Come back next week. Like I said, we're going to talk about the Bison Trail on our way to Toadstool, and then we'll talk about Toadstool Geologic Park. I always write Geological Park because that's how my fingers go, but it's officially called Geologic Park. They named it that because they know how I type, and they're like, yeah, we're going to name it that because there's going to be this person born 20 years from now, and then when she becomes an adult, she's just going to type it wrong all the time. So.
Well, the way we jump around all the time, we should just call it Toadstool Non-Canonical Park. It's non-canonical.
So this one was a little longer, but Connor and I had a blast walking around. And next week's probably going to be a little longer, too, because we've hiked up there. And we enjoy Toadstool, so we're probably going to do our little going down rabbit trails. And whatever. We'll see you next time. For now, I'm Irene.
And I'm Connor.
And this is Storytelling on the Plains.